Thank you, Amanda. I hope I'm audible. Everything good? I'm sorry I could not be with you all there.
Perfect.
Yeah, I am Rajiv Kemire. I used to be at Arizona State University. I did my PhD and a postdoc there, and I moved here 2 years back. So I've been working with the NCEC and more recently working closely with Global COT Initiative here at University of Michigan. So glad to see you all familiar faces. So this is a project on addressing equity and justice in industrial carbon capture storage. I'm working with 4 students, and our focus is in southeastern Michigan. So this is the outline of this presentation. So we all know why we need CCS. We are no way to get to 1.5 degrees. We're already into 1.5 degrees without some form of carbon capture storage. And it's particularly important to help hard to decarbonize sectors like electricity and manufacturing, which are dominant carbon dioxide emission sources. So what is industrial CCS? Here I mean capturing carbon dioxide emissions from industries and then transporting it to a nearby location and sequestering it deep underground. Again, I don't need to describe it to this folk. Then let me talk a little bit about southeastern Michigan. This site has a good geological carbon capture potential. It has a number of industries from which we can collect carbon and store. Detroit region is automobile capital of the world. So this is also one of the most polluted regions in the US. Detroit's JIP 48217, for example, has 52 heavy industry sites handling toxic chemical waste within a radius of 3 miles. So this is also the site for the origin of environmental justice movement. So how can we bring together environmental justice and carbon capture storage? Something we've tried to understand here. And here again, we don't need the definitions of environmental justice principles of procedural, distributive, restorative, and retributive justice. But I would like to focus, and we have already discussed about Justice 40 initiative, the Biden administration's plan to deliver at least 40% of the overall benefits of certain federal investment to disadvantaged communities. This is one of our focus in our research. So who are these disadvantaged communities in the context of southeastern Michigan, and how we can meaningfully engage them in any potential carbon capture storage projects? So here are the key questions we asked in our research. What is the spatial distribution of facility-level greenhouse gas emissions and social burdens, and where are disadvantaged communities located? What would be the societal impacts and benefits of deploying carbon capture sequestration projects? How do we ensure that the benefits of carbon capture sequestration investment flow to disadvantaged communities? Now I'll go to the methods and approaches and then results. So we employed 3 key methods and approaches. First, geospatial analysis to understand spatial distribution of burdens. Here I mean 32 burden indicators and greenhouse gas emissions in southeastern Michigan. And then we classified these burdens and greenhouse gases and compared where disadvantaged communities are and based on cluster analysis. And we used data of emission to understand how the emission is changing in the region. So we use flight facility level information on greenhouse gas tool and climate and economic justice screening tool. Here's the workflow. What we did, we collected the sources. We calculated an average of different burdens, 32 burden indicators. For the emission data, we created empirical Bayesian-Kriegling interpolation. We joined them and we tried to come up with 4 clusters. So this slide explains it better, our approach for interpolation and clustering in the region, southeastern Michigan. So we used empirical Bayesian-Kriegling, widely used in this kind of studies. We used k-means clustering to come up with 4 predefined clusters. So for social life cycle assessment, we used this social hotspot database. Social life cycle assessment aligns with ISO 14040 framework of environmental LCA, has 4 phases, goal and scope. Our functional unit was 63 megaton of CO2 captured over 30 years period. Phase 2 was inventory analysis, impact assessment, and the final interpretation. Here is the social life cycle assessment process systems for carbon capture and separation, for transportation and sequestration. And for stakeholder engagement, we first identified the stakeholders at state and federal levels, at government, private, and community, and universities, academia. We engaged with the stakeholders in semi-structured interviews. And also, we attended several conferences, workshops, try to reach out stakeholders wherever we find them. And we did the thematic analysis of the interview data. So now coming to the results part, most of the facilities in southeastern Michigan are hybrid. The largest emitter is electricity generation, though coal power plants are phasing out and relatively less. There are still natural gas power plants and stationary fuel consumption sites. Green gas emissions at facility level shows decreasing trend due to the pandemic, but then again, there's a rebound. So we found 4 clusters when we did the clustering analysis, clearly evident. Cluster 1, around suburban areas, low burden, low greenhouse gases emissions. Detroit and Pontiac region, cluster 2 has high burdens and high greenhouse gas emissions. Cluster 3 around Detroit and Pontiac has moderate burdens and greenhouse gas emissions, whereas cluster 4 has low burdens but extremely high greenhouse gas emissions. So in terms of social life cycle assessment, we saw that the impact of carbon transportation and carbon sequestration would be high compared to carbon capture. So transportation and sequestration is it's challenging. And then we also saw that in terms of social stakeholder categories, workers, societies, labor rights are impacted more. And this slide explains it better. So there are some social benefits, but then in terms of employment and also the state getting the place of decarbonization, but then there are other social issues, rights for collective bargaining and union labor issues, migrant workers issues, poverty and inequality, and then also impacts to indigenous communities that needs to be analyzed in a more granular way. And then we analyze thematic stakeholder engagement or interview data in terms of 8 different categories. We'll explain in the final slide. So here is the conclusion. Geospatial analysis, power plants are dominant form of greenhouse gas emissions. Greenhouse gas emissions and downward trend, but the relationship between greenhouse gas emissions and burden metrics is strongly clustered. Different clusters have unique conditions that make them disadvantaged. About 95% of cluster 2 is defined as disadvantaged communities, mostly located in Detroit and Pontiac region. But then those that will be disadvantaged due to carbon capture and storage would be different because we'll have those sites near where we have high greenhouse gas emissions. So this will change this. And social life cycle assessment results show that carbon transportation and sequestration storage generate highest risks. And then social issues, there are a number of challenges and also some opportunities that I have just outlined. And then so stakeholder engagement results show that yes, CCS could be a climate solutions for us to get to essential net zero goals, but there are technological, commercial hurdles, and also social equity issues. So Justice 40 is crucial. We need to be transparent. We need to be clear on how we distribute burdens and benefits and harms. We need to be careful in planning and community engagement. And then we need to be careful of safety and standards. We need to adhere to storage standards And though Michigan's geology is beneficial, but then it's crucial we be transparent and inclusive in all of our as we move forward on this. So here I will leave us. Thank you so much, and I will be happy to answer if you have any questions.